Apex Legends, the Battle Royale of the future. The spiritual successor and sequel to the Titanfall series. This game is complicated and layered. My job here is to help break down the complications and teach you the basics, and letting you figure it out from there. So, strap on your jetpacks, because we're dropping hot, fellas. Welcome to Apex Kindergarten. Howdy, welcome to Lesson 3. In this lesson, we'll be talking about the Assault Legends. Now, this is a bit of a weird situation, because what separates an Assault Legend from a Skirmisher Legend? How is this one defined to make it stand out from the other one? Well, an Assault Legend is typically different from a Skirmisher in a couple of ways. One, a lack of movement options. Not to say they don't have mobility options, but they tend to rely less on them. And two, they are better for initiating team fights rather than evacuating. Most of their abilities require a bit more tactic and game sense to use compared to the Skirmishers, who can just wing it, and they tend to have to commit heavier to their fights than other Legends do. Or, well, the Skirmisher Legends, not other Legends. I'm not saying that Assault Legends are harder or require more skill to utilize than other Legends. I'm just saying if you tend to be more aware of your surroundings and aggressive, then the Assault class is probably the one for you. Assault is all about managing your cooldowns properly, much the same as Support. All of their tactical abilities are great for creating space and or openings to rotate or push a fight, or both. Now, as all of the classes in this game do, the Assault class has a class passive. Unlike most of the other classes, though, they have two. The first is that they can open weapon supply bins, which provide instant loot, which is essentially loot that is only relevant to the team or individual that opens the bin, in this case the team, and it comes in the form of better attachments. Their second passive is to hold more ammo per stack, 80 for common instead of 60, 21 for shotgun instead of 16, and 37 for sniper instead of 28. With all that stuff aside, as I usually have to state, all of this information is accurate as of Season 21. So, let's get this lesson started, shall we?
Come get some. Move it or die.
Up first in the Assault category, following the trends of the other two classes, is one of the 6 free legends that you get upon installing the game. Bangalore. For the longest time, she was seen as the dictionary definition of a balanced character. That opinion has fallen off the wayside with the release of some more impressive legends with whom Bang's kit synergizes very well with. As such, that skyrocketed her into the meta, which has caused some pretty harsh, in my opinion, but necessary, also, nerfs. She still remains a very valid pick, and quite an impressive legend, though. Her passive, Double Time, is an incredibly strong and versatile passive. It is probably hands down the best part of her kit, just in terms of sheer mobility that it provides her. Now, what exactly it does is when Bangalore is shot at, whether or not the bullets hit her is irrelevant, or a grenade indicator pops up on her screen, she gains a 30% movement speed buff for 2 seconds. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, when you see it in action, you can definitely feel its impact. Her tactical ability is called Smoke Launcher. It's as self-explanatory as it sounds. She launches smoke grenades from a launcher on her shoulder, and when the grenade lands, it detonates into 3 smoke clouds that disperse and dissipate after 11 seconds. This is where we get into some of the more complicated mechanics of tactical abilities. The difference between one-handed and two-handed abilities, and tactical charges. Bang has 2 charges of this ability, which means she can use it twice, whether by cycling them or twice in a row. It is also a one-handed ability, meaning that she can use it while firing her weapons or healing. Each charge has a 35-second cooldown. Her ultimate ability, Rolling Thunder, or sometimes known as Creeping Barrage, is the ultimate, get it, tool for making space and moving enemy players around. Bangalore throws a flare, and several rows of missiles land sequentially in front of the flare. Each missile takes about 6 seconds to explode after landing. Since they land in rows, this creates a wave of explosions forward from the flare. The missiles land in a 6x6 square, with a maximum distance of 70 meters ahead of the flare. The missiles have a 14-meter distance to the adjacent ones in both horizontal and vertical direction, and each missile has a direct area of effect of around 8 meters. Every explosion deals 40 damage and stuns and slows enemies for 6 seconds. Word of warning, this ability cannot damage squad mates, but it will still cause a slowing effect. Like I said earlier, this ability is predominantly used for creating space, covering your escapes in tandem with your smokes, forcing people off of high ground, and securing knocks. This ability is not powerful enough on its own, so if you're using it aggressively, always be sure to chase the people you have hit with it to capitalize off of the damage and stuns properly. It has a cooldown of 4.5 minutes. Her level 2 perks are called Tactical Cooldown, which decreases the cooldown of her smokes by 5 seconds, and Ultimate Cooldown Plus, which decreases the cooldown of Rolling Thunder by 60 seconds. Her level 3 perks are called Cover Me, which pings the person who triggers Double Time, and Refuge, which allows Bangalore to heal 3.5 HP per second while in her smoke. Bangalore is an incredibly fun legend, and best utilized with a team built around her. Some good synergies with Bang are Catalyst and Caustic for controllers, Conduit, Mirage, and Newcastle for support, any of the Assault legends, Horizon and Valkyrie for skirmishers, and Seer and Bloodhound for recon.
Drinking cold ones before the match, making cold ones during the match. She's alright this life.
Here he is, the Grenado Tornado himself, Fuse. Genuinely one of the most annoying characters to deal with in the entire game due to the entire premise of his kit. And what is his kit exactly? Well, his passive is called Grenadier, and it allows him to stack 2 grenades per inventory slot, whereas normally you could only have 1. Additionally, he can launch grenades significantly faster and further with his cybernetic arm. You can toggle the throw power for more accurate throws by pressing the utility button. In order to get the most out of this passive, you should carry 1 stack of each grenade, of which there are normally 3: frag grenades, thermites, and arc stars. I say normally because sometimes during events, Respawn adds another type of grenade, and in that situation, adapt your playstyle accordingly. His tactical ability is called Knuckle Cluster. It's a 2-handed ability, meaning he cannot perform other actions while using this ability. Fuse launches these grenades with his cybernetic arm, and they stick to a surface or enemy and explode into multiple mini-explosions after about 1.5 seconds. The initial stick deals 10 damage if it hits an enemy. The mini-explosions are fixed on the point where the initial explosion sets off. It deals around 60 damage to targets who don't flee and lasts for 6 seconds. He has 2 charges, and each charge has a 20-second cooldown. His ultimate ability is called the Mother Load, and it is a handheld mortar cannon, where he launches an explosive into the sky, and upon detonation it will turn into a ring of fire. Touching the ring of fire does 35 damage and lights enemies on fire, causing a 5-second burn effect that slows the player and does 8 damage per second. There is a bit of variables included in the damage that are specific to certain circumstances, but I'm not going to get into that. You'll figure it out over time. If the burn effect ends before the ultimate expires, touching the fire will do 35 damage again and reapply the burn effect. Touching the fire while burning will not cause the initial 35 damage until the burn effect ends. Enemies inside the ring will be revealed to Fuse and his squad mates. The fire lasts for 17 seconds. This ability has a cooldown of 2 minutes. His level 2 perks are called Ringmaster, which allows him to scan ring consoles, and Scar Tissue, which allows him to take 50% less damage and ignore the slowing effect of the Mother Load. This applies to his own and the enemy fuses as well. His level 3 perks are called Reckless, which causes him to take 50% less damage from explosives, and Knuckle Hustler, which grants him a speed boost on successful sticks with Knuckle Cluster. Fuse's entire kit is based around forcing people to move, or else suffer the consequences. He's often misconstrued as a kill-hungry or frag-heavy legend, but that is just not true. His true strength revolves around flushing people out of cover and forcing them into non-advantageous situations for themselves.
Let us see how impressive you truly are.
The Remnant from the Titanfall series. Ashe. She made her start as a boss in the campaign of Titanfall 2, and has since returned from the dead to join the Apex games. She is known as the Incisive Instigator. And why is that exactly? Well, she functions as a hybrid between a recon and an assault legend. Her passive is called Marked for Death, and it functions as her recon ability. This is where the comparison to recon legends is most prevalent. Essentially, she can see the location of death boxes on the map, where she can ping them and reveal them to her team. It stops showing death boxes after the 3-minute mark. Additionally, if you are near a death box that is still fresher than the 3-minute time frame, you can press the utility button to throw her data knife into the box and reveal the location of the killers. You can tell which box is viable or not based on the symbols that appear over it. You can also use this ability to track the killers of your squad mates. It reveals them with an enemy ping for 10 seconds. Word of warning though, it does alert the killers that they've been tracked, so if they keep good awareness of where they've been, they can also learn where you are too. Arc Snare is her tactical ability. Ash throws a slow-moving projectile that will trap anyone it hits for 4 seconds. It has a 10-meter area of effect and does 20 damage to the target if they have shields, but 10 damage if they do not. It is a one-handed ability, meaning she can multitask. Like I said, it is a slow-moving projectile, so be wary when you throw it, because it is easy to avoid if the enemy is paying attention. Try to use it to trap hypermobile legends in order to capitalize off of their confusion, because most legends of that variety will panic when the snare hits them. Granted, there are some abilities that counter this, such as Wraith's Portal, if it's set up beforehand or even in an attempt to rescue the target, Loba's Bracelet, and Ash's very own ultimate. It has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Speaking of her ultimate, it's called Phase Breach. Ash pulls out her sword and slashes through the air, creating a portal through the void. It can go up to 65 meters, and once placed down, lasts for about 15 seconds. A word of warning, the portal is one way only. You cannot travel back through it, so make sure the moment you place the breach down, this is the course of action you'd like to take. It is best utilized for fast and quick ambushes, escaping risky scenarios, taking high ground, and quickly capitalizing off of snared enemies. It has a cooldown of 2 minutes. Her level 2 perks are called 1 Minute to Live, which improves her passive to reveal enemies scanned off of a death box for 1 minute, and it reveals them on the map instead of pinging their exact location. And Murder Machine, which reveals the number of enemy squads in the area after getting a squad wipe. Last episode, with Revenant, I said it was 75 meters. That is incorrect. It's actually 150 meters, so that's my bad. I didn't do my proper research. Her level 3 perks are called Greedy Snare, which increases the lifetime of Arc Snare in the world to 24 seconds and allows one snare to grab multiple enemies, and Twin Snare, which gives Ash another charge of Arc Snare. Ash is an aggressive and relentless legend. She's designed to constantly be on the prowl for kills and hunt other teams. I would recommend only playing her once you've got a sufficient grasp on the other assault legends first and foremost.
To a shark like me.
Mad Maggie is by far one of the most aggressive legends in the entire game. Like putting your balls all in their face aggressive. She thrives in situations where she controls the flow of the battle. She works as an amazing counter to bunker strats, referring to when people hole up in a specific area and don't leave. And she also excels at making enemies scatter and overwhelming them with brute force. But what does that mean? What exactly does she do? Well, her passive is called Warlord's Ire, and it does 2 things. The first and most prevalent thing is that when using a shotgun, she runs at the same speed that she would if she holstered her weapons with it drawn. The second part is when she damages an enemy, they are revealed to her and her team for 1 second. Now, just some advice. Just because she gets a benefit from running shotguns doesn't mean that you should always have to have one. She will still be an effective member of the team without one. The second thing I'll get to when I touch on her ultimate, but I'll give you part of it now. Just because you run faster with a shotgun out doesn't mean you should always have it out. Her tactical ability, Riot Drill, functions a bit like Fuse's Knuckle Clusters. Convenient because in lore they were lifelong best friends, which explains a lot of similarities they have. It is a one-handed ability, meaning she can multitask, and she launches a small drill from a launcher that, once it hits a surface, be that a wall, a door, a crate, or even shields or deployables that legends place down, it will stick to that surface and propel fire through the other side for 9 seconds. And the person on the other side can take up to 160 damage if they don't move. The length of the flare is 5 meters. It is best used like Fuse's Tactical, where it flushes an enemy out of cover. Another use for it is to secure low health kills, but that's kind of all you can really use it for. It has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Her ultimate is where the real big dick energy comes into play. It's called the Wrecking Ball, and Maggie throws it out. It does not have a set distance it can travel because it just goes until it explodes after 10 seconds. It leaves behind little blue booster pads that give any legends who run across them a 30% speed boost. If it hits an enemy, it does 20 damage and stuns them. It breaks through doors, rampart covers, Gibby Bubble, castle shields, and castle walls, and basically any enemy deployable in the game. This is where the second part of what I was talking about comes into play. You should be using a shotgun in situations where you are aggressively pushing with your ultimate. because combined with the faster movement speed of her passive and the speed boost with her ult, you become very hard to track and can bounce around the room and do a load of damage in a short time while being basically unharmable. Now, just because Ball is designed to be used aggressively doesn't mean you have to use it that way. You can also utilize it to rotate faster or to escape fights if they're beginning to look unfavorable for your squad. Just let it be known that obviously enemies can follow you on the speed pads as they're not specifically for you. It has a cooldown of 2 minutes. Her level 2 perks are called Shots, 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 which auto-reload shotguns upon getting a knock on an enemy, and Fireball, which lights the wrecking ball on fire, and when it explodes, it makes an X pattern of thermite trails. Her level 3 perks are called Drill Slinger, which gives her a second charge of Riot Drill at the cost of a lower lifetime of 6.25 seconds, and Big Drill, which massively increases the size of Riot Drill by 50%. Like I said earlier, Maggie is one of the most aggressive legends in the entire game. She thrives on situations with chaos, and also synergizes with other legends that prioritize aggressive playstyles, whether by enabling her or by fighting with her through their own aggressive kits.
Ever the sun sets, but she also rises.
Here he is, the old man himself, one of the original legends from the days of the Thunderdome, coming back to show these new kids on the block how a real gladiator fights. His words, not mine. What exactly is his deal? What's his passive? Alzheimer's? Nope. It's actually called Sling, and it allows him to carry a third weapon. Not very crazy cool sounding until you actually need to use it. You can put any weapon you find on the ground into the sling, and it automatically puts all white attachments on it. You can draw the weapon by pressing the utility button. Now I want to get this out of the way, and you'll see why when I get to his ult, but you're going to want to put a weapon in the sling that benefits from being upgraded to gold. The Alternator, the Wingman, and the Havoc are prime examples, or just a weapon you are very good with. His tactical ability is called the Whistler, and it's a one-handed ability that takes the form of a smart pistol with a custom bullet that will lock on after holding the button for a short time, depending on your distance to the target, up to 75 meters. Once it hits, it does 20 impact damage and applies a debuff to the target for 8 seconds. If they fire their gun too much in that time frame, it will overheat and cause them to take an additional 30 damage and have a small animation play on their screen. Something annoying, the bullet's impact can knock a player, but the overheat will always reduce them to 1 HP if they have less than 30 health. If the Whistler does not make contact with the target, due to either running behind cover, a shield being deployed, or you just not aiming at anyone, it will create a bubble that when an enemy crosses it in an 8-second window and enters the bullet's LOS, it will cause the bullet to latch onto them and apply the debuff there instead. In this circumstance, the bullet only does 10 damage instead of 20. It has a cooldown of 25 seconds. His ultimate ability is called Tempest, and it is arguably his best ability and the best part of his kit. He activates the rig on his back and gives everyone on his team within 90 meters infinite ammo, faster armed movement speed equal to holstered speed, and near instant reloads. Don't worry if you were too far out when he activates this ability, once you enter the 90-meter radius, you gain the benefit as well. Additionally, it has another benefit for Ballistic himself. It upgrades his sling weapon to legendary rarity, which is why you need something that benefits from upgrading. It lasts for 30 seconds, and the duration increases by 5 seconds for every knock that someone in Tempest gets. That's kind of all you really get out of it. It's a genuinely helpful tool if you get ambushed or you are pushing a fight. Due to the slight animation lock, it's best to activate it behind cover or before you push the fight. It has a cooldown of 2 minutes. His level 2 perks are called Lasting Bullet, which makes the Whistler last 3 times as long in World, and Slingshot, which increases the rarity of your sling weapons attachments to blue that will later upgrade when you hit purple evo to purple attachments. His level 3 perks are called Extra Bullet, which grants him a second charge of Whistler, or Speedy Whistler, which gives him a 30% speed boost for half a second on a successful impact with the Whistler, which makes it great for initiating fights. Ballistic is kinda like Seer in the fact that you want him on your team mid-fight as opposed to at a fight, as his abilities get the most value or usage during that time. And due to that fact, he pairs very well with Seer. Due to the Recon Legend's silence through focus of attention turning off Legend's abilities, and Ballistic's Whistler limiting their options for gunplay, the two of them make an aggressive and very oppressive composition, especially when paired with a legend like Octane, Pathfinder, or Revenant, who can be really aggressive and allow for good mobility.
my god, I
Alright,
suck.
there we go. The third lesson is complete.
Oh my god, I'm terrible. Holy
This
shit.
one was a bit more technical than the other ones due to the amount of reliance on situational awareness that Assault Legends have to have. As is usually the case, any questions you have, go right ahead and ask them in the comments. Don't be afraid to learn new things. It actually will help you, trust me. And who knows, you might be able to tell me something new too. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. That's why the button exists. Feel free to subscribe if you want. I know my content isn't for everyone, whether that be my educational content, the content that I'm going to start putting out once I'm done with this kindergarten series, or my clip content that I post just for memes or my Quell stuff or whatever. I know it's not for everybody. With all that said and done, unless there's something I forgot, which there isn't, class is dismissed.
Giving him the chimney. 1 minute.
Not that much better, though. Holy shit.
I just dusted an entire unit. Hell yeah.